You're listening to the RMPodcast, the official podcast of Red Moon Productions. Here are your hosts, Brandon Davidson, Keith Cheatham, and Sean Sebastian. Enjoy.
Another episode of the Red Moon Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian,
and Keith Cheatham. We're back, guys. We're back for another fantastic week of the Red Moon Podcast. It's so good to be back. Sorry we missed out last week, but we're glad to be back with you all pre-Halloween.
Yes,
pre-Halloween. So I guess we need to
Halloweeny.
Announce a little scheduling change.
Uh-oh.
Even though we missed last week, we've got a scheduling change for next week as well.
Right.
Oh.
Somebody needs to turn their volume down.
Uh-oh. Somebody's got their volume up on
our goodness gracious.
Who would do that?
Amateur.
Who would do that?
You know what's funny though? I'm glad you're checking the audio.
I like echo.
We've had
location.
We've had issues before, technical problems, so we want to make sure they're clear. But we also have a scheduling change next week.
Do we?
For Halloween, because, Keith and I don't have the
family.
fortunate ability of having kids. We don't have
you
kids.
Can have kids. It's
well,
not like
we
you're
can. We
sterile
can
or
adopt.
anything.
I don't have kids, but I have
Keith, would you
gone
have
out
kids
with
with
my
me?
nieces and, just my nieces because my nephews are now too old to trick or treat.
Don't act like you're not going trick-or-treating.
Well, I don't
know. He doesn't.
I don't have
he doesn't
a
go
costume.
do things with his family.
He's got that restraining order.
You know, he don't talk to him. His
No.
mom has to send him emails to like. He's a horrible person.
I don't have a costume yet. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I can
You don't
get
need
a
a costume.
I want a
You just
proper
roam
costume.
around with the children
Yeah.
like you do any other day,
No,
except
but-
this time on Halloween.
Within 500 yards.
No, I will say we are, because of the trick-or-treaters out next week.
Treat.
Yep.
Yes, we are going to do our show on Wednesday evening.
Mhm.
Wednesday.
Same
I
time?
guess, same time, 9 p.m. Eastern. On
Because
Facebook Live and
Halloween is
YouTube.
next Thursday.
That's
That's
right,
true.
on October 31st. But don't worry, we're going to have a great Halloween
It's
episode.
gonna be great.
Yep.
It's going to be fantastic.
It's gonna
Is it
smell like chocolate
spooktacular?
bars and Twizzlers and
Spectacular. Like everybody's using that. Like every commercial I've
It's
seen is like Kroger's. It's
they have for
Walmart.
years. I remember
Yeah.
that term in the 90s.
Yes.
Spooktacular.
Everybody. Smith's Furniture.
Spooktacular
Spectacular.
sale. It's like Kia stores. We
Yeah,
want to
that's
see
what
you
I
in a
was gonna say.
Kia.
We wanna see ya in a Kia.
The
On
spooktacular
Halloween.
savings. I'm telling you. But no, yes, next Wednesday,
Mm.
9 p.m. Eastern
Yes.
on YouTube and Facebook Live.
Yep.
Oh,
Tune
yeah.
in then. Have a great Halloween episode for everybody.
It's pretty good.
But before next week, we got a great episode this week too.
Yeah.
Especially, we
It's
got
packed.
a lot.
It's
We
packed.
have a lot. We missed last week,
Yeah.
so we just want to
Ton of
run through
news.
a few things there, and then of
Yeah.
course the reviews, and I mean there's just so
Well, how
much.
about that? I want to start out. How about that headline about Jared Leto stopping the Joker? Just throwing that out there real
He
quick.
tried to stop the Joker.
He's just
He can't even do that.
I mean,
It's like,
I think
couldn't
that
act.
in and of itself is a joke.
Oh yeah.
I think it's laughable that it's like, dude,
Yeah.
seriously?
he's sad that he was so terrible that nobody wants him back, and I mean I don't know what he just he just needs to get over it.
I'm just like imagining him going in to sit down with his agents, and he just like goes like this. He puts his hand up, and he's got like a sad face. Like that's just be
And
fantastic.
the
He's
best
sitting
part.
there crying.
Yeah.
Why didn't you take me seriously?
Because Heath Ledger told us not to.
Exactly. No, he should have brought in like and then what should happen is his agent should have brought him a dead rat.
Yeah.
Like he did with the
Dead
stars.
pig.
Yeah.
He had like a
Dead
dead
pig.
pig.
Oh no, it was
Yeah.
used condoms.
In used condoms. He
Both.
did all
And
kinds of
used-
stuff.
oh
Yeah.
my
Both.
gosh.
It's like
Then he had a used condom
it's
with a
like-
dead rat in it.
It's like, hey
Holy
Jared, how'd that method acting?
Holy crap!
But here's the thing:
How
is
do
I
you
want to be
even
like,
do that?
hey Jared Leto, how did that method acting work out for you? Because Joaquin Phoenix didn't send
Yeah.
his co-stars all this random crap, and he had a much better
No.
performance.
No,
So
I mean,
I
let's,
think it was just meth acting.
Yeah,
not method acting.
Yeah,
his
yeah,
Joker
stop
looked like
that
his
today.
Joker looked like he was on meth.
All I will say is this: Jared Leto, get over yourself, man. You
Yeah.
suck.
Yeah.
You sucked as the
Go
Joker.
back to playing women. That's it.
Yeah, you were a
I mean,
great.
he was
You
a
were a
great
great
woman.
tranny.
Yeah.
Okay?
I
I'm
wonder
telling
if
you.
seeing Margot Robbie getting more roles as Harley Quinn pisses him off too.
No doubt.
because he's
Oh,
like
yeah.
she gets to keep doing it. It's
Yeah,
like yeah,
well,
because
she
she
didn't
was
fail.
good.
Yeah.
It's like, she was good.
Just like Wonder Woman. It was
Yeah.
like we kept everything great about the DCU except
then
you
trashed-
because
yeah.
you
Yeah.
suck. And then what I love is James Gunn's also come out with the reason why Joker didn't need to be a part of Suicide Squad.
Well, to be fair, he did say he's like Joker's not in the Suicide Squad comics. He's never been a member of
Yeah.
the Suicide Squad, so there's no reason for him
Mr.
to be
J?
there. Yeah.
Which I mean, it just proves
I
all
love
the more
I
reason.
love in the trailer for Birds of Prey
Yeah.
when she's throwing knives at the drawing of his,
Yeah,
his
yeah.
Joker. I was like, that's kind of a nice jab. That
Oh,
they're
It
yeah.
just
is.
that they're like,
And you
yeah,
know,
no
of
more Jared
course,
Leto.
Of course, they're gonna just sit there and deny that.
Yeah.
but it is
Oh, yeah.
a beautiful.
It's like
No,
you
it
did.
is.
It's like you didn't put that in there without it being a jab at the fact that people dislike
It's
Jared
like
Leto's
she
Joker.
says though. It's like Mr. J and I broke up. It's like
Mhm.
yeah, exactly. And we're broke up with you.
You don't.
Jared
You
Leto.
don't need him.
Stop, okay?
On the more positive side, getting rid of Jared Leto because we don't care anymore.
Yeah.
We have learned that both Disney Plus and Apple TV Plus
Yes.
will have a way to get free subscription memberships
For a full
coming up.
year.
For a full year, yeah. Verizon, if you're a Verizon customer, you can get a subscription to Disney Plus an entire year free, which is
That's-
awesome because I have Verizon.
Well, I was
so-
gonna say
Okay.
I was
Yeah.
a little bit skeptical when you sent that because I was like, "Is this new customers? Is this the
Yeah.
No,
new
it's
and
any.
existing,
Yeah.
new and existing
Yeah.
customers get
Any
a
Verizon,
year
yeah.
of Disney Plus free."
And now you
which is
said that is
fantastic.
for Apple.
That's for Disney Plus.
Okay.
If you're a
Okay.
Verizon
Apple-
customer,
Now Apple TV
Okay.
Plus is if you buy any. I believe it's just an iDevice.
If you
new
buy an Apple
iPhone-
device,
Yeah.
Is
that
it
can
any
play it.
Apple device?
I think it's
Yeah.
got to be it's got to be something that can play it. Like I don't think the Apple Watch you don't.
yeah,
get
I think
with
it has
that.
to be like
Yeah,
It has to be a
iPad
device
or
that'll play it.
iPhone.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Is it
iMac?
iPhone? Because I'm going to buy an iPhone soon, so I'm going
Yeah.
to look into that. Because if I buy an iPhone and I might, because I have no real interest in Apple TV Plus, but if I get it for
Yeah.
free, I'll take it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
Is to bring people into the fold.
yeah.
like I say,
Hook you for a year.
Yeah,
and then,
see
yeah.
what we have to offer to
And I
see
mean,
if you
it's
want to stick around.
$4.99 after that, so it's not like it's.
Yeah, it's not that
yeah.
much, but even still, I'm like, I'd have to see what they have to offer first. It's like
I will
don't
say
wanna,
there's a few that I'm looking. I mean, C
yeah,
looks
but
okay
there's
with
other
Jason
ways
Momoa.
of watching those without subscribing. So
Yep.
yeah.
Well, we've got a lot of reviews. Should we get to it?
I
Oh
think
my
so.
gosh,
Well,
you're
we'll
right.
start off with our Halloween review here. It's a nice little present to all those wonderful creatures of the night. So here's our review of Dracula. Halloween nears. And while I have a very special Universal monster film saved for next week's Halloween episode, I can't review Universal's monster catalog and not review the film that started it all. Frankenstein may have helped put Universal on the map, but 1931's Dracula begun the trend that would continue for over a decade. Directed by Todd Browning, Dracula is far from the first adaptation of Bram Stoker's novel, and would definitely be far from the last, but it is one of the most iconic, and the first film adaptation that was not a silent film. Dracula set a precedent for the character that would be instantly etched in stone as the stereotypical representation of Dracula. The accent, the clothes, and much of what the character is depicted as in pop culture through the years all come from this film. Bela Lugosi, the Hungarian-born actor, loved the character and took the role very seriously. And the love and dedication put into the film shows, with cinematography, set design, and the general atmosphere of the film taking cues from silent film Nosferatu, the only other adaptation of Dracula that could be argued as more significant in film history than this film. Todd Browning laid a foundation that would be remembered for years. While like many of the other monster films Universal produced at the time, the acting today may come off slightly campy, a sense of dread and seriousness still permeates the film, in between some of the hokier moments. At this point, Dracula is a story most people are familiar with, but Universal's crack at the tale, while not completely faithful to the novel, is still one of the closest outside of Francis Ford Coppola's crack at the movie. Yet 1931's Dracula is almost scarier, and still the better told story. Many of the horror tropes present throughout Universal's monster films are begun in this film, and if Frankenstein laid the groundwork for horror themes, Dracula laid the groundwork for the style and atmosphere many horror films have to come. There's a reason people remember this version of the story and character, and iconic is an understatement. Still one of Universal's best monster films, it's scary, fun, and well crafted with love and passion. It may not be as prolific as Frankenstein, but it would produce a character that could be argued to be more popular and started the trend of vampires in cinema that to this day has not died. I give Dracula 3.5 out of 4 stars.
3.5 out of 4 stars from Keith Cheatham.
Mr. Cheatham.
Yeah, no,
Right.
it's not the 4 that I gave Frankenstein, but to me, Frankenstein is just one. It's one of the ones that Universal did that was just cutting edge, top rate, like the best. I mean, it really cemented what you think of with that era of horror filmmaking. And Dracula comes close. It just didn't quite have the same level of seriousness as Frankenstein, but it is still one of the father of all horror films,
Yes,
especially
right.
of the character Dracula. Anytime you mention Dracula or picture Dracula in your mind, that version, the way he looks, is what
Yes.
most people picture. Even though there have been many iterations of the character afterwards, and each iteration tries to be different, everyone always goes back to that version. And there's a good reason for that. I mean, it was, like I said, it's the first adaptation of Dracula with sound. There had been previous movies, but they were silent film era movies. The biggest, of course, being Nosferatu. Yeah. Which
is scary as
it's,
hell.
it's
Oh, yeah.
terrifying.
Yeah.
But like I said, even this movie takes some cues in the way it handles like set design and cinematography from Nosferatu. It has that very like decaying gothic, like scary atmosphere that Nosferatu first presents us with for Dracula, and then this takes that and then goes a step further with making this character. Nosferatu is very, very like more animalistic. I mean, he was still Dracula, but he wasn't quite the didn't have quite the human side that you see later on with Bela Lugosi's interpretation, and the side that you kind of get also from the novel, where yes, he is undead, but he was still at one point was a person, and it's scary and different, but still it's a little dated, obviously, as most movies from that age are.
1931.
Yeah. But even with some of like the campy dialogue and hokey stuff, there is still genuine scary moments in there. And then of course there's a lot of tropes in the original Dracula that would become common themes throughout the Universal monster genre, especially Renfield, who in this is kind of this diminutive. He's almost like this Igor-like character. And then of course you see that type of character pop up in not the original Frankenstein, though Frankenstein did have I forget the actor's name. The actor that played Renfield in Dracula plays Victor von Frankenstein's little sidekick in the original Frankenstein as well, only his name wasn't Igor then. And then as subsequent iterations of Frankenstein came around, they created the character Igor. But that all stemmed actually from Renfield in Dracula. Like, it was the first time the way they adapted Renfield in this movie kind of became the archetype of that diminutive sidekick that becomes that you
That's
see
cool,
throughout. Yeah. And I mean, there's a lot of tropes like that started with many of the Universal monster movies.
You put it best whenever you were talking about just the fact that this movie alone is exactly what you think of when you think of a vampire.
Yeah.
It's like you throw out that term, and this is kind of the iconic figure you go back to is from this
You have
movie.
Bela Lugosi, and then of course the next biggest iconic person to play the character, of course, would be Christopher Lee. He's probably if not this version, everybody knows Christopher Lee's Dracula. And then of course Gary Oldman in Francis Ford Coppola's version, and Luke Evans in Dracula Untold. There's so many. There's so many versions of Dracula.
Yeah.
But this one I think is the most iconic that stands the test of time.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree.
Sorry, Sean was fixing the blinds and it distracted
what's
me.
going
I was
on?
like, whoa.
There's headlights coming through here. And
You have to be
shining on me.
careful.
Well,
you
wait,
never want to invite a vampire into your home.
how, but I saw
That's what I
headlights.
thought I thought maybe.
I saw the dead lights. I was like,
Ooh.
ooh,
I didn't know if it was it the lights of an El Camino?
Oh.
Oh, I hope
I
not,
don't-
because those things don't run good.
Yeah. Oh, they don't?
Yeah, that was a good segue.
I like El Camino.
I was trying to figure out it
completely
was
made
out
up,
of left
but yes.
field, but yeah,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
So we're gonna talk about El Camino a little bit.
A little bit.
Well, because we didn't have a show last
Yeah.
week,
we were supposed to review that
we
last
were
week.
supposed to review it, and I think instead of giving a formal review, we can at least give our
Yeah, just
2
a
cents.
quick
We've all
discussion.
seen it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
So yeah, let's kind of break it down and discuss, Breaking Bad, a Breaking Bad
do
movie.
we want to go
El
around
Camino.
and share our star rating first?
Yeah, I
can.
mean we do that. We do that every.
We
so,
do. I mean,
Yeah.
Keith, let's go ahead and start with
I
you.
would
What
give
you
it 3 out of 4.
Okay,
Sean?
2.5. 2.5.
2.5. All right. Coming back around to me, I'm going to give it 3.
Okay.
Oh,
3
wow.
out of 4.
Okay.
And I also before we get too heavily involved, I mean, obviously it's not trying to be a separate movie from the series. It is very much, if you've not seen Breaking Bad,
Yeah, you almost
won't.
have to.
You really don't understand what's going on.
Yeah.
It's
And
pointless.
that's why I
at
gave
that
it
point.
3. Like, it's really well done, and I like it a lot. I just kind of hope to maybe just like Better Call Saul's its own kind of it has definitely the same type of writing and certain similarities to Breaking Bad, but it also has its own style and its own show.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was kind of hoping El Camino would give give Aaron Paul's character Jesse his own kind of. I was like,
style?
maybe this
Yeah.
will be his story and his own thing, and
But
still
in a way,
and I
I'm
mean,
kind of glad it didn't. And plus, it does have the tagline "A Breaking Bad movie."
Yeah.
So it's
True.
it's literally a continuation or an ending or an homage.
it's like a
to-
second ending.
Yes,
It just
exactly.
shows
an epilogue.
Yeah,
It's an epilogue.
an epilogue. Perfect.
And,
yeah.
and honestly, to be fair, yes, a 3 out of 4 because it can't stand on its own alone, like Better Call Saul
Yeah.
does on its own series.
You couldn't put it in the theater and expect people to like go, which would be
Which
hard
is-
anyways without seeing the series.
but that's also precisely
yeah.
why I think they did what they did with putting it on Netflix.
yeah.
and
But
partnering
to
with them.
counterpoint
Yeah.
that, and then, I mean, I want Sean to be able to talk too. Sorry,
No, it's
yeah, I
okay.
feel like
Go
we've
ahead.
been hogging it all. But I would just say to counterpoint, like if you look at like Firefly and then the movie Serenity did stand on it. I mean, yes, it's a continuation and an end to Firefly.
Yeah.
But if you went and saw that movie in theaters without seeing Firefly, you could still follow it perfectly. And
Well,
I,
the
that's-
same thing with I think the last time I talked about this, we brought up the X-Files.
Yeah.
The X-Files show was fantastic, and Fight the Future, the X-Files movie that came out in the mid-90s.
The original movie. Yeah.
That movie was really good, and that movie stood on its own, separate from the show, well enough that you could have missed quite a bit of
Right.
Mulder and Scully, and you could have picked up this movie and been like, "Oh, that's pretty cool." The other movies that they tried to make did not do that. They did not fit well without having seen a lot of the episodes of the show. So that was one of the things about like El Camino was, yes, you had to have seen Breaking Bad. You had to know the full story. You had to know the end of the story to be able to even
appreciate
what was going on. The issues that I had with the film were that there was just, I never felt a climax. I never felt this big, moment, and I already knew that he was going to get the ending that he got. Like, I mean, I already knew that. The whole point of even showing his story was to show viewers of Breaking Bad that Jesse finally got peace.
Yes. And here's the weird thing. Like you said, you knew because of the way the series ended.
Yeah.
The fact is the beautiful ending of Breaking Bad is that you see Jesse get away, and it's like
Yeah.
you don't need to know what happens next. You
Yeah.
assume he's gonna be fine
Yeah.
because of all of the different instances and circumstances he faces in that show.
Yeah.
You're almost led to believe it's like he's always made it by
Yeah, he's
the
always
skin of his
straight by.
teeth.
Yeah.
And the fact is that's the whole point, and that's the beauty of his arc. And it's like just seeing him blaze through that fence
Mhm.
and get out at the end of Breaking Bad. You're kind of like that. That's okay. Then
Yeah,
you're like,
no.
great, this is fantastic.
Well, you want him to get away.
and
yeah.
you want him to get away, but that's enough of a fulfillment.
Yeah.
And that was the reason why, to me, again, yeah, it was a great movie. I'm fine that you don't need, it wasn't a sole movie by itself. Like, I'm fine with it being something that you had to see Breaking Bad to fully enjoy.
Mhm.
Because truth be told, I don't think the point of it was to create some, in the way in which, yes, I agree. I think it would have been cool to see like an Aaron Paul-esque type of way of storytelling, like Better Call Saul is more focused on,
Yeah.
Saul Goodman's character.
Right.
It's like I didn't need that from this. I was fine with it feeling like Breaking Bad, and it had its moments where it broke that formula enough that it was unique to make it a movie. But I also I agree with kind of what your all's comments were about. I think it was before we cracked the mics on that it just seemed like an
A long
extended
episode.
episode of Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
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 And while I do agree with that, it wasn't bad. So
No,
I'm like,
it was
I mean,
not
to me,
bad.
I'm
Yeah.
just like, okay, I'll take it, but I didn't need it. I didn't
Mhm.
absolutely need
And
this.
that's
movie.
how I
Yeah.
felt, and that's why I gave it 3, because I was like, it's not necessary, but I felt like the quality wasn't any poorer than anything else from Breaking Bad. It just felt
Absolutely
like
not.
another episode of
Yeah.
Breaking Bad, just
Yeah.
a little bit longer, obviously, wrapping up Jesse's story.
Right.
And I mean, I enjoyed I liked being able to see kind of like some of what happened to him while he was being held captive.
Yeah.
That stuff was cool.
Yeah.
But I do agree
And
with Sean that
that explains kind of the change in his personality throughout the film, because he's not he doesn't really have the personality and the pep that
Yes.
Jesse has in the show.
Yeah.
And I think after being held captive the way he is and tortured and all that, you that would change a man.
Yes.
So I get that. There was a couple of scenes that I thought were the vacuum cleaner store scene was I
Awesome.
love that.
Yes,
I love it. And I really loved the tension when he goes back to the scrapyard or whatever and shoots the guy from his pocket and all that. I love that.
Yeah,
But
all
see,
good.
I think that was maybe where I thought there was going to be this big climax, and it ended up just being pow, 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 you're dead, and everything's done. And I thought it was kind of easy for him, but I mean, looking back on it after everything else he's been through, I guess you could say he could use a little bit of a break.
Yeah.
But,
Well, and I
but it's
think
just
that's the weird
it
thing.
was
is
too easy
I agree
for
with
me.
that part of the film being the climax wasn't really the climax. Like to me, because really, the huge explosion
Yeah.
is more or less just like a cherry on top of like, hey, we're doing a movie.
Yeah, let's blow something up.
Right, and that's fine. I don't mind that. But to me, the
Let's get
climax
rid of
was
the
still,
evidence and all that. Yeah,
and that I didn't mind that part of it, and I thought I agree with you. To me, that would have been a climax if this was an hour-long episode.
Mm-hmm.
Like that would have been a beautiful way to end an hour-long episode.
Oh, yeah,
You're like,
yeah.
oh hell yeah, that's
Yeah.
how you do it.
Yeah.
And then I don't know what's coming next.
yeah,
But to end it in that way, I still think the definitive end of him getting away and actually coming up with enough money and coming up with crossing all the paths that kind of led him to this down this road to begin with.
Yeah.
It's like that to me was the climax, was him finally making it.
No,
to
I
that,
can see
across
that.
the board.
I mean, out of the Breaking
Um,
Bad series, like he is one of the characters that you like. Walter White's character, you don't really ever get a sense that he's not in control.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, there's a very few moments where you feel like he's lost his grip on everything.
Yeah.
For the most part, he's a genius. Like he has things worked out. Jesse is the one that you find yourself being sympathetic to.
Right.
And I was appreciative of the fact that we get to see his character, like I said, find some peace and get away, and because you feel like he deserves that.
He was the one with
Yeah.
redeeming qualities.
Yes.
Like, as the
Yeah.
series went
Walter
on, Walter
doesn't-
White
he changes. Yeah.
He begins sympathetic, but by the end of the series, it's like you don't care what
No.
happens to him
Right.
because he
Right.
deserves what he
Yes.
gets.
And,
Yeah.
well, and you almost you want to see him get it.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Eventually,
and
yeah.
that's the whole point of that's what made Breaking
Breaking
Bad
Bad.
so beautiful
That's-
was the story
name
that
of the series,
surrounded,
yeah.
the anti, hero, and it was like Walter White was
Yeah.
the spiral was what kept drawing you back for him. But right, like you said, the great thing about Jesse's story was that redeeming quality.
Yeah.
But you already knew it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You already knew the ending, and that's why I'm like, yes, I liked it. Good movie. Didn't need it.
For
Yeah,
me,
you
El
know.
Camino was something that I'm not going to go back and rewatch it on its own very much. Like I probably won't ever go back and just rewatch it on its own. But if I ever go back and rewatch the series
Breaking
Breaking Bad,
Yeah.
I will definitely watch that after because
There
it
you
is
go.
a nice epilogue, like you said.
Yeah.
But
not,
other than
not
that,
a bad movie at all. It's just the 2.5
Yeah.
for me just simply came from feeling like I already knew this is probably what happened.
Yeah.
And getting to see it is not that big of a deal for me. But I didn't feel like there was enough
And I-
there to stand on its
And
own.
to give it some more credit, but in a positive way, I will say I'm glad it went that route instead of, and this isn't really a Vince Gilligan thing to do because after watching Breaking Bad,
Mhm.
like even watching the series the first time through, there would be times where I'd be like, oh, this is going to happen. And then it doesn't. And then
Yeah.
I'm like, well, thank God it didn't because that makes so much more sense.
Yeah.
And his world building is so good
Yeah.
within what he's constructed. And that was why I was like, I didn't want to see a twist where we think Jesse's going to get away and then boom, 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 he's dead.
Yeah.
Something like that.
well, because then if that
And-
happened, it kind of tarnishes the end of Breaking Bad
Right. Oh,
anyway.
yeah.
Where it's
Yeah.
like you
And
believe
so,
Jesse got away.
That's why
yeah.
I'm glad Vince Gilligan didn't come in and say, I'm just going to make a film that makes it worthy to watch.
Yeah.
It's like, again, while we're complaining that it's kind of average and it's just an extended episode of Breaking Bad, I'm also glad it wasn't a movie to just completely redo the ending
to
of Breaking Bad.
subvert expectations.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
And I agree with that. Now, even though it's not something I would revisit constantly, I do think there is something worth revisiting that's been 10 years in the making. So
Oh yeah,
if we
that's
can
a
get
good,
to
that's a good amount of time for a sequel.
yes, it is.
Yeah.
We get to our review of Zombieland Double Tap. Comedies are often the hardest films to create sequels to. As with any sequel, audiences have preconceived expectations. Hit comedies such as Ghostbusters, Anchorman, and The Hangover nail a tone and story mixed with their own style of humor that is hard to replicate. It's why the sequels to these same films are much less well received than their predecessors, often feeling like they are just mimicking the first film, and offering more of the same with no substance. 10 years ago, director Ruben Fleischer delivered a comedy/horror film that was unique and became a massive hit. Zombieland, starring Jesse Eisenberg, Woody Harrelson, Emma Stone, and Abigail Breslin, cemented its place in pop culture, and a sequel was a sure thing, but it fell into production hell. Now, 10 years later, we receive Zombieland Double Tap, and despite a few hiccups, it's worth the wait. With all of the previous cast reprising their roles, Zombieland Double Tap picks up in real time 10 years after the original, with Eisenberg's Columbus catching viewers up to what has been going on since the end of the first film. Columbus, Tallahassee, Wichita, and Little Rock have kept on the move, eventually settling in the White House. As they begin to settle down as a family, Little Rock begins to grow restless, wanting to meet someone her own age and hopefully someone to form a relationship with. Meanwhile, Wichita has begun to grow complacent in her relationship with Columbus, and when he pops the question, she gets cold feet, causing her and Little Rock to take off again. But when Little Rock meets someone new and ditches Wichita, Wichita must return to Tallahassee and Columbus to get their help in finding her sister. Unfortunately, in the 10 years since the first film, the zombies have begun to evolve, leading to a new strain that is faster, stronger, and smarter. Zombieland Double Tap doesn't forget what made the first movie awesome to begin with, giving us the familiar cast and chemistry that made the first so good. With a few new rules and Zombie Kill of the Year, upping the ante from the previous film's Zombie Kill of the Week, the humor is still spot on, and the film is still tons of fun. Where this film fares better than other comedy sequels is it gives us what made the first great, while not being afraid to experiment with new ideas as well. Bringing in new characters and even the idea of survivor communities, Zombieland Double Tap takes a few cues from The Walking Dead, even acknowledging the series in a humorous way. With new characters such as Rosario Dawson's Nevada and Zoe Deutch's Madison being hilarious and solid new additions, Zombieland 2 evolves from the first, much like the zombies it displays. The one and only gripe I have is that while there is plenty of fun and a good bit of emotion, it doesn't quite have the same impact as the first. With characters we already know, the film doesn't need to dive into introducing them. And while there's still plenty of character development, I felt the characters don't ever get a slow moment to let raw emotion sink in. Instead, all of the new elements Fleischer experiments with in this film seem to take precedence. And while the new elements are great, I wish that perhaps he had slowed the movie down and cut some, or else even gave the film a longer runtime to add a little more heart. As is, the movie is still a worthy follow-up to the first, and one I think most fans of the original will love. And I hope it doesn't take another 10 years to see a third. I give Zombieland Double Tap 3 out of 4 stars. Well, there you have it. 3.
There it is.
Yeah, there it is. The
3
sequel
out
to
of 4
Zombieland.
stars.
10 years
10
in
years
the making.
I was going to say the same
Well,
thing.
I
God
mean,
dang it.
10 years until the next one, right?
I hope not.
That's what they said.
Man,
that's what.
That's what Emma Stone.
yeah, Emma
Emma
Stone
Stone
thinks
said
it'd
she'd
be
be
good,
okay
yeah.
with doing like every 10 years.
Yeah, they'll
I
have
wouldn't mind
kids and
that.
I'd
everything
be
by
okay
then.
with that. It's
Can you imagine that?
What if one of them has like a zombie baby?
No.
You know,
It's a much as a sequel to a comedy film. It's much better done than most comedy sequels are.
Agreed.
Generally, like I mentioned, The Hangover and Anchorman in my reviews, and both of the sequels to those were terrible. They're just the same. Even like Home Alone's a good example. Like even though I love Home Alone 2, it's still the same movie as Home Alone 1.
Yeah, it is.
And it's like a lot of comedy sequels tend to be that. They're like what happened in the first.
Yeah.
Just
Well, and I
rehashed.
find it funny that it's like something like Home Alone, where it's like I liked 2 better as a kid,
Yeah.
and then I grew up and I saw 1, and 1's so much more
Yeah,
tasteful.
it's
Yeah.
But
much.
that's just John Hughes in
Yeah,
general.
yeah.
But it's just like and you find that out too. You
Um,
end up, but that doesn't suffer. This doesn't suffer from that.
No, like I said in my review, what I felt with this was it just didn't have the same heart and emotion as the first. Like there are some emotional scenes there, but the movie adds a lot of new things that I love. Like I didn't think a lot of the new stuff was bad. It was well done. I just felt like they were focused on adding new things and kind of forgot to let the characters have some of them slower, more emotional moments that the first I felt was good at.
Yes.
Yeah.
I felt like this movie, my biggest. I loved the movie. It's very funny. It's
Oh, it's hilarious.
It still
yeah.
has that family. It's like, how can you even call these people a family? But It's got
They
this
are.
family element. I know they are in a
Yeah.
in a zombie land.
Yeah, yeah.
They're the only family you got, but it's the same movie as the first. I mean, to me, it was a carbon copy from the first.
Oh,
movie.
okay. See, I didn't
mean,
feel that
the
way.
first movie they end up in Bill Murray's mansion, and this one they end up in the White House.
Well,
the
they
first
they
movie,
start out in the White House.
Woody Harrelson's looking for a Twinkie, and this one he's looking for Graceland. In the first movie, Emma Stone runs away, and they got to go find her. In this movie, Emma Stone runs away, and they got to go find her.
Okay.
Like, it's the same freaking movie
Okay.
with a few new elements. So that was my biggest gripe with the film was it was too much of the same thing.
Well, see, that was actually what I praised it for, was that it wasn't like in other sequels where it was the exact same thing. I do agree that it does have a similar like plot thread, but I felt like they changed it up.
Let me ask you
step
this
by
then.
step.
Well, and so with exactly the same points that Sean just pointed out and being similar, how would you say they differ from it being the same
I just
trope?
felt like it was a natural like evolution of like I felt like if he was chasing around Twinkies in this one again, I was like, okay,
or like
we
ding dongs.
Yeah.
You know?
But the fact that like
Thousand-year
he kind of lets on early on about his admiration for Elvis, and then of course it wasn't like that they were distinctly looking for Graceland. He's just somewhere he mentioned he wanted to go to, and then of course when Abigail Breslin's character runs off and the only place she could think to run to is because he mentioned it was Graceland, that's where they end up going. So I was like, it wasn't quite the same
I felt
to me.
like Graceland replaced
Oh,
the
it did.
Twinkie.
It definitely did.
And there were so many elements. Like I said, the White House replaced Bill Murray's mansion, and there was just so many different
definitely.
things.
There's a scene at the end where, like I told you at the end of the first one, where he's stuck in that booth, that game booth fighting, and there's a scene where 4 of them are stuck in a kind of similar situation. And I was like, and that I didn't like at all because that was too much like the original, where I was like, okay, now you're just rehashing. But the other elements, I was like, yes, I saw that they were. They harkened back to that, but I thought they were good because they were different enough that it was like, okay, you're using a similar formula, but it felt a little bit more natural to me.
Because with the Emma Stone comments about it coming a new iteration every 10 years, which made sense in terms of like it's kind of nice to let something take a break, die down, and revisit it. But it's been 10 years since the original. Do you think that in 10 years they could have come up with something a little bit more original than that?
Probably,
I think they should have.
I mean, do you think that it's like they sold it as this was a great idea that they've been incubating it for a while, and
I think
now
the
it was finally
ideas they
time for it
had
to blossom
weren't necessarily in the way the story flowed. Because I mean, you could see. I agree with Sean. You could see the beats hitting the same beats as the first
it's like
one.
we talked about it with Star Wars, like with The Force Awakens. We were like, it hit every beat that A New Hope hits.
Yes.
And that's how I felt about this movie. It doesn't make it a bad movie, not at all, but it was more of the same. And the couple of new characters were so. I will say one of the positive things is about one of the new characters, the little blonde.
Yeah, Madison was
she
great.
drives me insane in the movie.
Yeah.
But here's the way they do this, though. She comes along. She's there. You get just about as much as you can effing take. And then she disappears for 45 minutes. And then they bring her back towards the end. That was great because if she would have been through the whole movie, she would have been a Jar Jar. And I would have hated the film.
I could see more of her.
I could not stand that girl through the whole film.
I
could not.
I thought she was hilarious.
She is hilarious, but after a certain point, you're like, okay, I need a break. And they gave it to me. Like literally, for about 30 or 40 minutes, she's
was
out
like
of the
they
film.
knew
So
the
for
moment
you,
you
it's
needed
probably
it.
not a good idea that they talked
Talking about a spinoff.
They talked
That's
about a
why
spin-off,
I
yeah.
sent it. I was like, LOL, because I do not want to see this.
Yeah, they
Like,
talked about a spinoff with that
so
character.
freaking annoying. But again, right before she becomes too much, they take her out, and then she comes back later, and it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. But if she would have been through the whole film, that would have almost
The
ruined it.
biggest part for me and it wasn't bad. I just didn't think it was that great, and they could have been done without, were the doppelgangers. If you've seen the
Yes.
trailer and they show
Yes.
up, and it's like
Yeah.
that, I was like,
well,
it was
that's like,
humor. It was
how do they
humorous.
Even like,
Yeah.
How
But
does that
again,
become something that's
well,
possible?
they do it
they
in a good way.
explain
Yeah,
that?
it's
well,
kind
just
of,
they're
yeah.
just two people
just
that
bump into some new
happen
people.
to share similar characteristics to
And-
these two people.
Yeah.
And let's
And
just
it's
say
a- it's a
after seeing-
huge-
after seeing Us
Yeah.
earlier
Yeah,
in the year.
they're not really. Yeah, I mean,
I
a
just-
doppelganger.
Yeah, they're not
but
really
yeah.
doppelgangers. It's just they happen to have,
have the
similar
same-
character traits.
But again, with introducing those new characters, that could have gotten old really fast
Yeah.
too. And
they dispatched them
they
real
dispatch them pretty quick. So it's funny for a minute, and then they're done, and they don't linger on that funny situation. They
liked-
could have traveled with them through half the movie, and I would have been like, no, this is just stupid.
I really
But-
enjoyed Rosario Dawson's character, and it seems like if they
Yeah.
make a third, she would more than likely seem to come back.
Yeah.
And I mean, I enjoyed the community. Like, I loved actually. I won't say enjoy. I love the community they show in this film,
Yeah,
only
oh,
because of how much they make this whole point of like, because the community they go to ends up being like these pacifists that they hate
From
violence.
Berkeley.
So
Most
yeah,
of them are from Berkeley.
they're these pacifists. They hate violence. Like, in order to get into the community, you have to hand over your guns, and they melt them
They
down.
melt them
And
down
you're in the middle of
into-
a zombie
into
apocalypse.
Peace signs that you wear around your neck.
Yeah. You're in the middle of a zombie apocalypse, and nobody in this community has guns to defend
Right.
themselves because they hate
What?
violence.
Yes.
But it ends up becoming a problem because
Well, of course you're
Yeah.
in the middle of
Yeah.
freaking
and,
zombies.
and I'm
Well,
sitting here
I mean,
watching this
come
movie
on.
thinking, I can't believe Hollywood made this movie where they're actually advocating that sometimes
Guns
guns
are
are
necessary.
necessary.
Well,
But
the
yeah,
other thing is they're advocating that walls are necessary because these people hide behind a wall.
True.
Yeah, and you know what they're gonna
So-
say? They're gonna be like,
Well, it's a
yeah,
fantasy
when
film with
there's a zombie
yeah.
apocalypse, when's
Yeah.
that gonna happen?
Well,
it's
And
like
that's- I mean,
Our president's bringing about the end of the world, so it's
Yeah.
going to happen pretty soon,
Yeah.
probably.
it's like y'all are worried about the president causing war, so get your guns ready.
Yeah,
I mean,
that was a really awesome part of some of the. Well, I wouldn't call them like political jabs, but this movie was
No.
an anti-political movie. Like, I mean, it definitely had these. It had these moments that were just kind of like, yeah, this is probably going to make somebody in Hollywood angry. Like, there were some things like that, like the gun thing, and they were making fun of people that get rid of guns.
Oh,
And I thought it was hilarious.
Woody
'cause I'm just
Harrelson's
like,
character trashes
Oh,
like
yeah,
the pacifist throughout the whole. He's like,
through the whole movie, he's talking about.
yeah, it's hilarious. So
But there was a lot of things about the movie that made it, because I give it 3. So there's a lot of things that I felt made it a great film and a worthy sequel. Other than that, kind of feeling
Yeah.
like I've seen this before. One of the other things I would say that, and I give it's been 10 years, but in 10 years I would have thought Columbus would have made a move at Wichita a lot sooner than this. It's been 10 years.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
you
true.
know,
And,
and-
there's not a lot of people to choose from.
Yeah,
I mean,
true.
it's like you've been.
well, no, they've
spending
been
10
dating the entire 10 years.
No,
but it's
but
like
that's
they
what I'm
haven't
saying.
been
You've
married.
been
yeah.
dating for
Yeah.
10 years
Yeah.
in a zombie apocalypse. It's like, why are you cold feet about
Because they
sealing the
can't
deal?
show them getting married off screen. That's just not good. It's
Well,
one of those
no,
things where it's
not
like,
even, it's not even that. I mean, what I think would have been cool is if they were already engaged.
Yeah,
and it's just
or
like,
something,
We
but,
got to find somebody who can marry us.
yeah.
You know, that would be
Yeah.
a cool little trope.
Well,
and then
one of
maybe
the-
she runs off because she's like, well, maybe I don't want to do this.
Well, that's kind of what happens, and it's like you would have thought within 10 years this would have already happened. He would
Yeah.
have already confessed to
But
her
just
that
like-
he wants to spend the rest of his life with her, and she would
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
taken off and ran, and
Yeah.
that's kind of what happens. But it's like, why?
But she doesn't stay gone too long. Actually, that's
No,
one
no,
of the things I
that's-
liked that was a throwback to the original, but was different, was that the fact that they ran was like, okay, well, that kept
Yeah.
happening in the first. But the fact that she had to come back because her sister ditched her, I was like, okay,
Yeah.
now that's a nice little
No,
way
I
to
agree.
subvert it and be
Yeah.
like, okay, you got a taste of your own medicine
Yep.
because your sister ran away from you. But that was actually one of the rare moments where they kind of subverted something from
Yeah.
the first. So
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's still all criticisms
Yeah.
aside.
No,
it's
worth
still
checking
it's still
out.
a good movie,
and it's
like I
worth
said,
checking.
very
Well,
few
and
gripes.
like you said,
but
a worthy, successor to the
The-
first,
the-
but
the
not
humor-
necessarily any better.
the funny parts are still spot on. Like they still nail the humor.
Yeah.
There's only one comedic scene in the entire movie I did not like. It had to do with one of the zombie kills of the year that I just felt were too far fetched. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, there's a lot of things that y'all do that are over the top, but I don't believe it involves the Leaning Tower of Pisa, and it was just it was just like, okay, no, I do not
really
believe
bad.
that would ever happen. So that
Yeah.
was bad. But other than that, I was like, okay.
I don't even want to know.
Yeah.
You'll see.
no,
It's
yeah,
it's
I'll
it's fairly
watch.
stupid in my opinion. But I mean, like I said, most of
one of the things I've always worried or wondered about with these films, with both of them now,
Yeah.
after seeing the second one, is the whole zombie kill of the year thing. In the first movie, they bump into like nobody.
yeah,
So how do they know about these zombie kills of the year?
just
and all
part
this
of the
kind
humor.
I know it. I know it. And
To
it was the
some
same
random
thing with this
person.
movie. You don't see what or who they've spoken to in the last 10 years, but it's just like they have this joke where they talk about someone was married, and it means you were
That's
mistaken
pretty
for a
good.
zombie and killed,
Yeah.
like the famous great Bill Murray. And when you're seeing the movie and you haven't seen anything in the last 10 years, you're
It's
like,
like, how do people
how did
know
they
that
know
happened?
about that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do they know about
Because
yeah.
it's not them that mention it. Someone else from like that they meet mentions like, well, you don't want to be married, and
killed
That's
in
part
his
of the
own
joke
home
is that
'cause
they
somebody
were
thought he was a zombie.
yeah.
Nobody else was there, so how'd they hear about it?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, there are little things like that. But like you said, that was also in the first one.
Yeah.
Things that
Well,
the first one
that's
did.
almost one of those things where it's like if you're assuming that word got around in 10 years, then it's like then it's right for me to assume that they would have already been together and been married.
Yeah, right.
Well,
You know,
yeah.
and
Well,
it's like-
my gripe with the Murray thing was they're the only ones in Bill Murray's mansion when
Right.
he dies.
Yeah, who
So
told?
nobody else would ever know that Bill Murray was mistaken for a zombie and killed.
Unless
Only they know, unless they told somebody.
They told somebody.
But it's obvious in this film that they
They
didn't
didn't.
want anybody to know that.
because they hide
It
the
was-
fact that it was them
They
that
hide
did
the
it.
fact that it was them.
Yeah, because like
Ah.
So
Rosario
it's like-
Dawson's character was like, "We don't want to be married," and they're all kind of like they get quiet, like, "Oh crap!" Like,
What's married?
like,
You
yeah,
know?
because they don't want her to know that they were the
They were the
ones
ones who
that
killed
that
Bill
did
Murray.
it. Yeah,
plot hole.
So-
I'm just
Yeah.
saying, man, that's
Yeah.
kind of bad.
yeah. But I
There
mean,
is- there
instances
is
like
a little
that
Bill Murray
are
thing
throughout
at the end,
both of them.
at the after the
Yes.
credits. So you might want you stay
Just-
and watch that.
Stay tuned.
Well,
Yeah.
Just stick
Spoilers,
around.
I guess.
Yeah.
A nice
Okay.
treat.
Sorry.
Somebody spoiled the fact that Bill Murray was in the first one for me. So
Who was
it was
that?
supposed to be. Actually, I had forgotten by the time I watched it, so it didn't matter because I remember seeing for the first Zombieland with Neil,
Mhm.
and I remember when was it you, Brandon?
I don't
remember.
remember.
Somebody
If
mentioned-
I did it. I don't remember.
Someone mentioned Bill Murray was in the movie before I'd seen it, and it actually made Neil angrier than it made me because Neil hates spoilers.
Well, of course.
Oh.
But I remember sitting in the theater next to Neil because it's his second time watching it, and they come up on the mansion, and like on the gate is BM, and I'm like, "Who's BM?" And Neil looks at me like, "Are you serious?" 'Cause and then of course Bill Murray pops up. I was like, "Oh yeah, I forgot he was
Yeah.
in this."
Yeah.
So it was still a surprise for me, even though it got spoiled.
Right.
So
Well, but definitely the second one's worth checking out. So go see Zombieland Double Tap.
Absolutely.
All right, guys, I think we're ready to move on to some headlines. Gosh, I'm telling you, everything
everything is beautiful
everything is beautiful
in its own way.
just like you, Keith.
Beautiful.
So beautiful.
Everything is beautiful.
What are we talking about?
Well,
Headlines.
Okay.
headlines.
You lost me on
And the fact that it's just
Yeah.
been a week, and gosh sakes, I'm saying
So
there's
much has
tons.
happened.
There's tons in the news. We already covered a huge crap ton at the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
And we tried to get a lot of those out of our
The
out
minor
of the way.
ones, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
free subscriptions, Jared Leto, you know.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Thankfully, we ended on a high note.
Like
on
how
that
you
one.
like just put those together. It's
Yeah,
like free
yeah.
subscriptions. Jared
Well,
Leto.
I will
No
say,
big deal.
Jared Leto was in a comic book film that I could agree was despicable, but not every comic book film,
I will
according
say,
to Francis Ford Coppola,
He's got the
is,
segue
is
tonight.
despicable.
We are killing the segue game tonight, man.
Yeah.
We got it on lock.
Mhm.
Yes, in the news, obviously, we talked about the last time we were on how Martin Scorsese had said that, you know, Marvel films aren't cinema. And, of course, several people have kind of rebutted and said, no, I mean, you can say that, but you don't know it. Well, then
Right.
Francis Ford Coppola had to stick his nose into
Can I
it.
say,
Yeah.
I love the way you're saying his name.
I thought it was Coppola.
It is Coppola. It
Yeah.
is Coppola.
And I'm just like,
And I don't know why I'm saying Coppola. It is Coppola, but I keep saying
Coppolas.
Coppola.
Coppola.
Well, you know, I just I
Two
don't
Ps
feel
in there.
like he deserves a proper name enunciation right now because he was
Yeah.
a turd.
You piece of crap.
Yeah. Well, here's
Well,
the
I
thing.
love how we were like, even beforehand, and in our own snotty way, like Keith and I are sitting here like, who does he think he? I mean, he only made The Godfather.
Yeah.
You
like-
know, and it's
But
just
seriously though, he made The Godfather,
Apocalypse
Now,
Dracula, which you just mentioned.
and Dracula.
Yeah.
Yes, but okay. Other
The
than
guy-
those
the guy's
movies,
won,
like
he's won 5 Oscars.
yeah,
yeah.
But Alfred Hitchcock won 0, so I'm just gonna
Exactly,
say that,
exactly.
okay?
Yeah.
So even the Academy gets it wrong
it's like
every once.
he
in a
has
while.
made
Yeah.
amazing movies. I'm not saying that, but he's also made some crappy movies too. Like
Yeah.
if you look at his full
Oh, I'm
library,
gonna pull it up here.
it's like yes, he has some good movies in there, but he also cast Keanu Reeves, so it's like
yeah. No, you
Yeah.
stole my
I did steal
joke.
that from
Dracula.
him.
You stole
I
my
stole
joke.
it from Brandon.
I said that right before the show because I was like,
we were actually talking about that next door.
yeah.
About
and I'm
how
sitting here and I'm like, now wait a sec. You're gonna call the MCU films despicable, and you're not gonna talk about Keanu Reeves in your own movie?
Yeah.
who had
That
the worst
acting was despicable.
Yeah.
Every single person who sees that is like, what accent is he doing?
Yeah.
That
He
nobody
doesn't
knows
know.
He has
what
like 3 or
that
4.
is.
I
through
think
the whole
he
movie.
I think he forgot that he was in Dracula and not Bill and Ted. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoa, dude.
Whoa.
It's like,
Watch his face,
your
man.
teeth are tubular.
But I do. I'm like, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, all right, look, we all make mistakes, okay?
Yeah.
But Francis Ford Coppola made a huge
He's
mistake.
made his share, yeah.
But like, I mean, I love the fact that Martin Scorsese, he doubled down on what he said,
Yeah.
which we covered, 2 weeks ago.
But
But even still, he did not.
Yeah.
He's not jumped in on the conversation when Coppola just
he
escalated.
said that the worst thing he said was that he didn't feel like those films were cinema, but he basically said that they weren't for him. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, it's fine. You don't like them, that's fine. Just like Samuel L. Jackson said, some people don't like your movies. It's whatever. But for Francis Ford Coppola, for Francis Ford Coca-Cola to come out,
He's got two name brands in his name,
Yeah.
Ford and Coca-Cola.
for him to come out and say that it's despicable is kind of
Yeah.
like, what if he hasn't even been relevant in how many years? What's the last thing he's made?
Oh no, the bling ring.
What's the bling ring?
You don't know what the bling ring
No,
was?
I don't
It had
know.
James Franco was in it.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, James Franco and like Selena Go, but he was. Now wait a sec, he was a producer.
Oh no. I mean, what's the last
So-
thing he's actually directed?
Oh, that's what I'm about to pull up. I'm
Okay,
I'm
you pull
pulling
that
up.
up.
His credits right here, but I agree. I looked this up the other night, and I was ticked because I was like, now wait a sec. You don't get a chance to sit there and dog on the MCU, which has just made a decade of films that are worthwhile, and that are made a decade of films of millions and billions of dollars. And yet you're going to sit here and act like, just to be relevant again?
Well, I think that's
what's
part of his
distant vision. I have no
part of
clue what
his-
that
Yes,
is.
yes. See, exactly.
Part
That's-
of his
that's
gripe
the last
has to
thing
do
he's
with-
made.
I think it has to do with money. I think you look at some of these films that he's made, and yes, while they are great films like Apocalypse Now, like some of these ones, his iconic films, they're good movies, and yes, they had accolades, but they're not movies that made crazy bank.
I didn't.
Right.
And,
I didn't
and
know
you got
this.
these people making these what they would consider mindless action movies, and
Right.
they're making billions of dollars. And I think when
that's
you
the
look
sad
at that
thing,
as a
is
filmmaker, you're kind of like,
nobody is arguing that millions of dollars means success or
Yeah.
means
Right,
a
no,
worthy
not at
film.
all.
No.
Absolutely.
Transformers makes billions of dollars.
Yeah,
It's still
exactly. And
crap.
we trash every single
Yes.
time a new one comes out.
Yeah.
We trash it
'Cause they're terrible.
It does.
They're
that's
they're
not-
despicable.
yes.
I think honestly, what seemed to start all of this, because a lot of the these two directors in particular didn't really mouth off until people started talking about Robert Downey for an Oscar.
Yeah.
That's when they starting to voice their opinion about these movies. And I hate it for Robert Downey Jr. because he's trying to be graceful, and but deep down inside he's got to be thinking, like, why are
I like the way
why are
he
you
put it.
saying that
I
I'm
was gonna
not?
say, I like the way he put it in terms of he's like, I told them I didn't want to be nominated. I
Yeah.
didn't want them to push for it.
Yeah.
But in the same way, he
He's
kind of
showing
slapped
humility.
them on the wrist, and he was just like, it's kind of hard to hear from these great directors saying that the last 10 years of your life have kind of been
Nothing.
worthless.
But they're despicable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Despicable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
what Keith were you saying?
I didn't know this, and I'm over here laughing about it. But he directed the film Jack with Robert
Yes!
Williams.
Yeah.
I'm like, really?
Wow.
That was you?
the great
Wow.
Godfather director.
You made Jack?
made Jack.
Guys, I'm not gonna lie.
You love that movie.
I love Jack. I love that movie. I haven't seen it since I've been an adult, but
Which is
I
funny.
remember loving that movie.
All I know is I love that it's based on a real
But
disease, but
again-
then you look up the actual disease,
Yeah,
and I
it's
don't know.
not like that.
No,
No,
it has no, and I'm
No.
just like
it's like
that
the same
movie,
thing with Benjamin Button. It's like that doesn't really happen. Somebody probably thinks it does, but it doesn't happen.
Yeah, no.
I felt like
But
I like what Jack was trying to do. I felt like the idea there I thought could make a good movie. I just didn't feel like it was executed well. And
Well,
I-
and even
I
not
don't
know.
even,
All
I
on-
don't even
cried
wanna,
my eyes out
I
watching
don't
that movie.
I don't
but-
even want to go down that path.
But no, let's
All
don't.
I
let's
want to
don't.
say is
Look
that
at the track record here.
Yeah.
We're talking about Jack. Yes, okay, it's an okay film, but it's like that's not Apocalypse Now.
Right.
That's not The Godfather.
like if you're gonna put
you're
yourself
the best is behind you.
Yeah,
if
well,
you're either
and
one of
even
these
then,
directors.
Even then, don't sit here and say that, I have the right because of, I made all of these classic films. Yeah, you did. But don't sit here on your high horse and say that you haven't either made a crap film or
Yeah,
a film
a bad
that was
decision.
Now, if he comes out and he says, Jack was stupid
Yeah.
and I should have never made it. It was an abysmal film. Then I'll respect your opinion.
Yeah.
But if you're not going to at least admit that, if you're going to sit here and make it seem like your entire catalog
But here's
is
the thing.
cinema, that's BS.
None of these movies that he's talking about are critically or audience rated bad films.
no.
They're all successful, well-loved films.
Yes.
I mean, with the exception of Captain Marvel.
No, even that one, though.
Even that
I
one's
mean,
better than some of this other stuff we're talking about. But
Iron
I'm
Man
just saying,
3
like Iron
and
Man
Iron
3.
Man 2
and
was
even
okay.
even
3
Iron
was
Man 3
awful.
critically got good
Yeah.
reviews. I don't
Yeah.
know how.
Audience wasn't.
I would say
but-
we never defend the critics.
No,
Okay,
no,
I mean
no.
we are
But
them
I'm just
ourselves,
saying,
but
but that's
Thor,
the
Thor:
thing
The
is-
Dark World,
Yeah, no.
okay, yeah. But
lackluster.
actually, if you don't mind, and it's funny because Neil actually posted a link to it in the comments. But
Yeah.
it is something I noticed earlier. Like James Gunn, I love his response. I have it on my phone. I was
Yeah,
gonna read it.
yeah.
Because he tweeted this out in response, and he makes an excellent point.
I love this one too. I read
But
this
it says,
earlier.
many of our grandfathers thought all gangster movies were the same, often calling them despicable. Some of our great-grandfathers thought the same of Westerns and believed the films of John Ford, Sam Peckinpah, and Sergio Leone were all exactly the same. I remember a great uncle to whom I was raving about Star Wars. He responded by saying, I saw that when it was called 2001, and boy, was it boring. Superheroes are simply today's gangsters, cowboys, outer space adventures. Some superhero films are awful, some are beautiful, like Western and gangster movies, and before that, just movies. Not everyone will be able to appreciate them, even some geniuses, and that's okay.
Boom.
So it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
people have different tastes.
I love that he put them in their place, but he was
Yeah.
like, even some genius.
yeah,
Yeah.
even
It's
some,
like, I'm gonna twist the knife a little
It's
further.
like,
Like,
yeah.
you all
even
are great.
some
Yeah.
geniuses can't understand.
Not everybody gets what's going on in the Arrival.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, well, yeah, some people have microchip brains. You
or
just
some
can't
people
figure
are
it.
too genius that they are above even those despicable.
But it's the same thing when they transferred from black and white to color, from
Yeah.
silent to sound. People were like, "Oh, this is not cinema," and it's like, no, cinema
It's
evolves.
evolving cinema.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say, and I think that's why I think Martin Scorsese kind of didn't backtrack. He just shut up because I think, again, I think what he said was valid in his own perspective, but also it was his 2 cents.
I think
Yeah.
he was
I
just
think the
offering up
reason
his opinion,
Yeah.
and he didn't mean it as a slight. Now, I think Francis Ford Coppola was like totally.
Coppola?
Oh, yeah.
Now, now we're
Coppola,
just getting
Coppola.
a whole different name.
Yeah, it's going to be different every time. So Coppola was just, he was a jerk. He
I
was
don't know.
just
I
flat out saying
think
despicable.
Copper doesn't know what he's talking about. Okay.
Copper Daniels.
Yeah.
But no, my main thing too is I think that this whole argument, I'm just like, it was dying down. Coppola throws in his 2 cents, and it's like, dude, stop.
Yeah,
like
you
why?
poured
Why?
gas on a fire.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And everybody started pitching back in again.
And we've already been
it's
through
not
this
really
with Spielberg
productive.
and the Oscars. We've already been through this. Like, I mean, it's this basically the same argument. It's somebody on their high horse thinking their crap doesn't stink.
It
and everybody
literally
else's does.
reminds me of that age-old, like, you don't know, I walked 6 miles in the snow to
Yeah.
get to school.
Hopping on 1 foot because we only had 1 shoe.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And I'm like, and here's the thing. Everybody, when they hear those arguments from older people and the older generation, I respect my elders. I appreciate what they went through. But at the same time,
But
it's
instead
like,
of Grandpa, we have cars now. We don't have to walk in the snow. Get over it.
but no, it's like, exactly. And it's the same way. It's like my dad wants me to teach him how to use an iPhone. And so I will. I'll go over there
yeah.
and teach him how to use an iPhone because,
be patient.
yeah.
Yeah, always have to be
I've been
patient.
through that. I'm still going through
Mine's
that.
a favorite. Is the internet
Love
don't
you,
work?
Dad.
Power down, power up.
Yeah.
It's like if that don't work, then I'll help you out. But try that first.
See, Keith, but that's the thing. That's all IT.
Yeah, I
Power
know.
down, power up.
Oh, I
It's
know.
all good.
I know.
Power up.
I've been on the phone with them many times.
Just
They're like,
reboot it.
Because
Yeah.
it's frustrating when you're actually like
I can't find
when
the
you're
boot.
adept at tech and you call IT because it's literally past like your knowing.
Yeah.
So you call IT and they don't know any more than you, and
Nope,
then you get
they're
frustrated.
reading from a script.
Yeah. You're like,
Yep.
did you try this? It's like, look, I've done all this and more because
well,
I
do
actually,
it again on the phone with me. Like that's
like-
gonna make it
Well,
different.
actually, what you need to do is spend 10 times more than you're spending now
Yeah.
to make it work. Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the fix.
I always lie to them when they tell you like, "Well, power cycle it right now. Unplug it and hold this button for 10 seconds." I'm like, "Okay, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it."
Yeah, no, of
I'm
course
sitting
not.
there looking at it. I'm like, I know it's not gonna work.
Yeah,
It's like,
well,
"Oh,
that's
yeah,
right. I
I'm doing
already
it.
did it.
Okay,
It's
back
like I
up.
tried that before I called you.
Yeah, but
because
they
I'm not
still
a
want you to
retard.
do it
Yeah.
while you're on the phone with
Yeah.
them. So
Well,
I'm
it's
just
gonna
like,
make it
"Yep, I
different."
just did it.
And
He's
it's
like,
like,
well,
oh.
it hasn't been 30 seconds.
So the
Well,
reason
yeah.
it fixed wasn't because I rebooted it. It's because you were throttling me to begin with.
Yes.
That's what it is.
I'm showing you getting full speeds here. Well, no crap, because you just turned it on. Just turned the dial up a little bit.
Well, I think we beat a dead horse. The fact is we're not all getting along. Cinema is cinema. Movies are movies. Shut up.
If
about
you
it,
like it,
okay?
watch it. I
now I
mean,
sound like an old god.
Yeah.
We've had Erin on, and she likes the Transformers movies, and we tell her how
That's-
wrong and
that's
stupid
fine.
she is, but it's okay that she likes them.
Yeah, We respect her opinion.
Sorry, Aaron.
We-
You're not
you know,
wrong or stupid. You have your
Ignorance
own.
is bliss, okay?
Yeah. It's despicable.
But, since we're
Despicable.
talking about stories of, the older yesteryear,
Oh yeah.
it's funny because
What?
we got
Yes-
our
Yeah.
we got our unique weekly segment this week, and it happens
Yeah.
to be story time.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Mm.
Should we just dive right into it?
Yeah.
Sure.
Let's go.
It's story time, where the podcast members tell their stories.
I love it, man.
I didn't know the mic was hot right there.
It's always hot. I love it.
Always hot.
So, guys, we do have a very special, spooktacular story time.
You used it again.
I had to.
Creepy, spooky.
Creepy. Actually,
Creepy,
it may.
spooky,
It
spooky,
may
spooky.
get. This is the time to put the
Be
little
scary.
ones to bed.
Ooh. Man, I do love a good horror movie, and I
Mhm.
mean I do love this time of year because you can watch horror movies anytime,
I was
but it's
like,
just
where are you going?
I don't
You
know.
can-
You just you can just
you can put the kids to bed.
it's just more you can
where are you going with this?
put the kids to bed and maybe murder a few people.
It's like, I love putting the kids to bed this time of year.
Go to sleep and don't wake up.
Don't wake up until morning.
Get some
Jeez.
what was ricin? That's from Breaking Bad.
Ricin?
Whoa!
Just poison,
Whoa!
just
Kill 'em?
poison the children. He did in Breaking Bad.
Yeah,
Spoiler
but,
alert.
man.
Poison the
but
children.
Still, it's like
All
we
right.
just took a
He
dark
did-
turn.
He didn't kill. Actually, I viewed that argument online once where people were arguing over whether he was a good person or not, and they're like, "He didn't kill the kid." It's like it don't matter. He still poisoned the child. A good person doesn't do that.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. But anyway, all right.
It's
switching
okay
our-
though because the kid lived.
Story time.
Switching our focus back to story time.
Yeah,
The thing is, we want to know, and people write in.
scary
Write in
moments,
your comments right now if you're live with us.
fears, nightmares.
The scariest stories.
Things that go bump in the night.
Ooh.
Besides your parents.
that is scary in and of itself.
Bump.
I can share a quick one. I mean, I have a better one, but this is just funny. Because one of my all-time favorite movies is E.T. I love that movie,
Mhm.
and I've loved it ever since I was a kid. But for a brief spell, I don't know why, but there were a few years I was afraid of that movie. Like I loved it, was afraid of it, loved it again, and it was because I had a dream when I was a kid once that E.T. abducted me, and and from that moment,
Were you
Did he probe your butt?
no, I don't. I
Everybody's
don't know.
gotta
The
ask.
dream ended after because like it was weird. Like
He doesn't know.
I was playing in like the living room, and this bright light shines through the window,
Mhm.
and I remember like taking up, and I remember feeling like I was floating and seeing E.T.'s face in the ship as I was floating up, and I remember waking up and feeling like I was floating back down, and it scared the crap out of me for years. So then I wouldn't watch that movie for a few years, and then I matured and realized.
So
like,
it's a bad
Did
dream.
he hurt you in your dream?
no, I woke up. I remember floating upwards, seeing his face, waking up and feeling like I was floating back down, and I was just like, okay, that was really creepy. And for years, I didn't want to watch that movie because of that dream. But then I fell back in love with it, so it's all good now. But
Okay.
Yeah.
So was that your scariest story?
no, that was just something funny because it's. E.T.
Well,
I mean,
this
that would
isn't
freak me
funny
out.
story time. It's scary story
It freaked
time.
me out as a kid, but now I think it's kind of funny that I had a dream I was
okay.
abducted by
I mean,
E.T.
I will say, being
I mean, who gets
abducted
abducted by E.T.?
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah.
say, if you
Yeah.
saw that in a bright white light, I would just think this is a huge head.
Did he
Yeah.
like?
I don't
touch-
know.
Did he point his little glowy finger at you?
I think what happened, honestly, was when I like my grandparents, because I've watched all kinds. Like my love of horror came from them because they watched horror movies, and as a kid, I saw horror movies they watched. But I remember, I think, look, they used to have these cabinets full of VHS tapes. They recorded everything on TV. And they had,
Those were the
did
good
back
old
then.
days.
yeah,
Exactly.
so they had
Yeah.
these locking
Like,
cabinets
hold on,
that
I
were
gotta
full of
fast forward through the
VHSs.
commercials.
And I remember looking through the cabinet trying to find E.T. and I stumbled across, like, it wasn't a recorded video, it was it had the actual case, and it was some other like sci-fi alien movie, and there was like this image of this alien on the side that was really creepy, and it freaked me out. And I think that's why, because after that I had the dream, only instead of that alien it was E.T. And I was like, from then on, like, aliens creep
Oh.
for a while. Aliens in general just
That's
creep
like
me
my
out.
sister.
Like, they
Aliens
used to creep me
out
out.
my sister.
It's
But-
creepy.
but here- okay.
Signs? Ooh, that's a creepy
That's
one.
the movie she hated. She
Oh,
hates
really?
that movie. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, it freaks her out.
The
Yeah.
opening to X-Files used to
does.
creep me out too. Like, I love X-Files, but the opening used to
Oh,
creep me
yeah.
out. Like that whistle.
Well,
and
Keith,
the- yeah.
tell us your real story. Your real scary
Somebody,
story.
I gotta compile. I got like it's kind of. I
It's
don't know. I
gotta
got a
build,
bunch.
okay.
Like all of them are. I like even now. Like
Well,
me
you're
owning my own
thinking-
house. Well, no, I mean, I could say it's just like a list of different things that happen. Let someone else go
I was
first.
gonna say, well, you just compile the
Yeah.
best one and come up with the best. Especially, I know what you mean by living in your own house.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, I still haven't watched Paranormal Activity since I've owned my own house.
I have not.
I
I have a
don't do it.
basement in my house,
Yeah, nope.
and I won't watch
Nope.
Paranormal Activity because I'm too afraid
freaks
of.
me out.
Yeah.
After the second one, I came home. I went and saw it with my buddy Logan.
Yeah.
And we stayed in Logan's basement, and we just stayed up all night and talked.
Yeah.
I was freaked out.
I'm too afraid to
Wow.
watch
I was
Paranormal
freaked
Activity
out.
because then I'll be afraid to go in my own basement. I mean, actually, my TV's in the basement, so I'll be sitting down there watching it in my basement. Like, nope, I need to turn this off and get out of my basement.
So, Sean, what about you?
I can remember when I was really young. I'm thinking I was probably like 4 or 5. I remember seeing Gremlins, and it's still one of my like favorite movies. But even today, like it still scares the hell out of me.
Yeah.
Now, not to the point where I have like nightmares and stuff like I did when I was a kid, but when I was a kid, like I saw that movie one time, and for months after seeing that movie, it at least one night a week. It wasn't like it was every night, but at least once a week I would have a pretty bad nightmare.
Traumatic, yeah.
About Gremlins. And like one of those nights I was having a bad dream about it, and I woke up and I was under my covers and something grabbed my feet, like bare feet, and like by the ankles, and pulled me under my own covers down to the bottom of the bed. And it freaked me out so
Yeah.
bad that you could ask my parents, but for years I slept with my feet like over on the edge of the bed. Like up, I had a water bed when I was little. That was back in the, I don't know, we got a water bed.
I used to have a water
So
bed.
the
Yeah, I
water bed
remember
has
Keith
like a
having the water
wooden
bed.
surround.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so the edges of it are just a hard wooden
Yes.
plank.
Yeah.
And I would sleep literally with my feet like up on that. I would not put them down at the bottom of the bed where whatever it was could grab me and pull me again. And I did it for years. I mean,
Till when?
I don't
What would
even
you say
remember.
average? How long you had that?
Oh,
water bed?
I mean,
Teenager?
no.
Oh,
like
okay,
like
okay.
just a couple of years.
I
Like,
still,
I was
still
probably
sometimes
10 or
don't like
so.
to have my foot hanging off the end of the bed at night because I'm like, man, it's
Yeah,
creepy.
no. I like to have mine tucked.
Yeah,
I like
well,
to have
that
mine
was the
tucked
other thing.
underneath. Yeah,
My
underneath
feet
the-
were tucked
yeah.
up and
Yep.
they were on the edge. And
Yep.
it was like as long as they're wrapped up and as long as
Yep.
they're over here on the edge closer to me and not down at the bottom of the foot of
Yes.
the bed, nothing's going to get me. But this
Yes.
thing, like when this happened, I remember like it happened yesterday, even though I was 4 or 5. But after I slid under the covers and pulled myself back up, the water beds, I don't know if you remember, but if the water bed had like a headboard, like a back to it,
Yeah.
a lot of the times they were like shelves.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that went up against the wall, and there was a space at the base of the bed, like where if you, it's kind of it'd be easier to draw, but if you like leaned over the bed, you could see behind
Yeah.
the bed, but under
the shelf.
the shelf,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
a tunnel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember leaning over. I don't know why, because it wasn't like I heard anything, but I looked up in that tunnel in the dark and saw the freaking red glowing eyes of a gremlin. And it, I ran into my parents. I mean,
I don't like this.
before I had to sleep with my feet on the edge of the bed, I would wake up in the middle of the night and I would get up and go in my parents' room and sleep on their floor. And I did
You'd
that
sleep on the floor. You thought the floor in your parents'
in my
room was-
parents' room. It was safe because
Okay,
they were in
alright.
there. And I mean, I would sleep to where my
Yeah, I
mom
I
would,
just wouldn't
my
even
mom
sleep
would
on
get
the
up in the
floor.
middle of the night to go to the bathroom and she'd trip over me because I was literally right there. And once they nipped that in the bud, then I went in there and I made sure I had my feet tucked up and on the edge of the bed. And this went on probably until I was 9 or 10 years old. And even to this day, like when I watch Gremlins, like there's so many things about that movie that freak me out. Like I watch it and I'm gripping my blanket or whatever, I'm gripping the arm of the couch, like it terrifies me, even though it's funny
Yep.
and it's kind of juvenile.
I love
And there's a
Gremlins,
lot
yeah.
of great, there's a lot of great lines and stuff in there. But Murray,
Yeah.
like I love that. Like everything about the movie is great, but
It gave you
it's
nightmares,
still, it doesn't give me nightmares anymore. But God, when I was a kid, like I remember that like it really did happen, even though I know it didn't.
That was actually one
just
movie
really
I watched as a
freaky.
kid that never did get. I don't know why. Like that would be the one that was most logical to give me nightmares.
Yeah.
Instead, E.T. and A Nightmare Before Christmas gave me nightmares.
Yeah.
Well,
Not
Before
Gremlins.
Christmas,
I
understand
love
that.
Gremlins, and it never did. So I don't understand
See,
why.
anything with
Werewolves-
creatures really bothers me.
Yeah.
Werewolves
Like-
were always mine.
Yeah.
Like anything with werewolves, that
Yeah, I remember
scared
that.
the hell out of me.
Yeah.
I mean, Silver Bullet was the
Yeah.
movie that would give me nightmares. But apart from even that, mine's a little bit more scary for modern times. Ooh, doesn't go back to like childhood. It goes back to straight up like, you know, this is not this. It was during college, through college. It's happened a few times, which is what makes it kind of scary. And we were talking about it a little bit before.
Oh yeah.
The show started. And actually there is a Netflix documentary.
It's one of my favorite documentaries on Netflix.
Yeah.
Just because it's creepy.
It's creepy, but it's I 100% stand by them. and
Oh,
what
it's
they say.
true. It's a real thing. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And so this phenomenon is I've felt it before. And it was funny because actually the night we came back from the Paranormal Activity 2 screening.
Oh
and-
Lord, that'd be the worst time to have it.
Well, no. Exactly. Well, and I didn't have it then.
Okay.
But I was telling Logan about it because we were trying to find something to talk about. So
Yeah.
of course it's like, let's scare ourselves even more. But I was trying to tell him it was almost the same kind of thing, Sean, where it wasn't like something grabbed me. But what happened was I have had these moments where, like it describes in the documentary, where you go to sleep, but you can somewhat wake up or you're conscious enough. I still think you're in a daze. You're kind of half asleep still. And while you're there, you know, your body can't move. Your body's not awake. And it's completely stiff. You can't, you know, even turn your head.
You feel
even.
trapped in your own body. Yeah.
Yes, yes, exactly. You feel trapped that you're paralyzed. You cannot move. And so I'm sitting there and it's like this, you start to sit here and think, why can't I move? This isn't good. And then you're thinking like, wait, is there something wrong with me?
It's sleep paralysis is what it's called.
Sleep paralysis.
That's it,
Yes. And like at that moment, like you're starting to see the dark room, but now your eyes have adjusted to like the dark. So every little thing has a shape. And I mean, I have seen dark figures like standing at the foot of my bed. And I've heard some people describe like clouds and but to me it's always been a dark figure.
Yeah.
Nothing other but the outline. And then I've had moments where I go back to sleep, and even though I'm still, like, my body is still feeling the same, my conscience, like, drifts back into sleep, but then there's, like, something that pushes on my body. And, like, I feel myself, like, sinking into my bed. But then it gets weirder. It's like I don't sink just into the bed. Like, I go through it. And then, like, I go through, like, the floorboard and, like, out into, like, out of the house, and like then I'm just like,
Well, then you're just in the further.
no, I know. Like, trust me,
Yeah.
it's creepy because it's like, but then like I start to get this like vision of like flying above things. Like it's like I'm not really like almost like a spirit.
Yeah.
Like I've become a spirit and I'm like floating around like to where I'm sitting there and I'm like seeing a bird's eye view of like my neighborhood, and then like and like I can go and like just swoop down like a bird through another house.
Astral
or through
projection. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I love these terms, man.
Yeah, that's what that is. That's
I
what they call
know.
that.
Yeah.
And it's just like that. But that's the thing is like I've felt that.
Yeah.
And I think they termed
creepy.
it to night terrors.
Well, sleep paralysis is the
It's
not
part
moving,
of-
but yeah,
it's part
that's-
of
yeah,
a night terror.
A night
yeah.
terror. But I've had that happen on several occasions, and I swear to you, it's no joke.
Yeah.
And it's like it's something when you're scared as a little kid from something like a movie or a fear of yours.
when you don't understand what's going on.
Right.
Yeah.
But like when you get older and you're expecting like not only to be explained, but almost to not have it. You're
Yeah.
expecting for it to not happen.
Yeah.
So when it happens to you, and I will say it's like it's sparingly. It's not really all the time, but every once in a while I'll have a night like that where I will, and it's almost in a weird sense where I've gotten used to it and I know when it's happening, and I almost can kind of tell that it's not real and it's not it's not reality. But I hate that it's happening, but I can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're
And I'm-
aware, but you're not. You can't
It's
function.
that
to
defenselessness
do
that you
something.
can't
Yeah.
do anything.
Yeah.
It is- yeah.
It's scary.
Yeah.
It's freaking scary. And I'd say the most recent it's definitely been within the last year.
Mm-hmm.
I have them every few like months, and I don't know if it's from like something psychological.
That's why he's not responding to any of our text messages.
Well, that could be it.
Oh,
Dang,
Man,
he's in sleep paralysis.
I'm
time.
I'm really just floating above you.
You're
I'm
flying.
there with
You're
you
there
in spirit.
in the room. But you can't talk.
Yeah, I'm like a
Yeah.
haze.
No, what's the
Purple
name of
haze?
What's the name of the documentary? Because I'd like to watch it.
I think it's called Nightmare or Night Terror or something like that.
Is it
I
really?
mean,
Is it on Netflix?
Yeah, it's on
And I
Netflix.
will say, like, I'd watch it during the day because
That's-
I'm telling you,
Oh, it is
watch-
creepy.
You
Yeah.
watch it at
'Cause
night,
they do,
you're gonna
like-
have it.
they
You're
do,
gonna
like-
have one.
They do like reenactments and
yeah, yeah.
stuff of like
Yeah.
what people are
I'm watching a
seeing,
show right
so-
now called Haunted, and it's
Yeah.
basically just a bunch of like scary stories that people swear to God that they really
That
happened.
happened.
And they're doing that. They're reenacting. Some of them are pretty.
But the weird thing is like
Creepy.
most of the reenactments are like these abstract drawings.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
some of them are even just abstract like visuals in terms of like
But
just
when
real
you
dark-
see it, it reminds you
it
of what
triggers
you've
it.
seen.
And it's like that's it. Like
Yeah.
that's spot on to what
Yeah.
I saw. And that's what's creepy about it. Is it's
Yeah.
like there's no faking it.
yeah.
And so I'm like that's my scariest
Hmm.
story. I just
Okay.
I know that may seem weird because you're just like, well, but what has really happened to you? No, that's it.
Yeah.
Like, it scares the crap out of me.
It just
You know?
scares. I'm trying to find the
The
documentary.
name of, well, Keith, why don't you
I
tell
will.
us your scary story and I'll look it up.
Yeah,
for
you look it up, man. Because see, to me, like I don't know. I never like I just have different instances. Like I've had where like I've woken up and seen a dark figure at the end of the bed, but that one wasn't really scary to me because it was one of those instances where I was so tired and I woke up and I saw this dark figure there. I was just like, oh crap, I'm gonna die right now. But I really just want to go back to bed. So oh well.
Yeah.
And then I realized it was my brother Reggie at like 3 a.m. and I'm like, and when I finally, because my eyes adjusted,
It's
I realized
just called
it's
the
him.
nightmare.
The
bro.
nightmare.
The
It's just
nightmare,
called
okay.
the nightmare.
But yeah, that's a true story. I woke up and then when my eyes adjusted, I realized it was Reggie just standing at the foot of my bed. I was like, "What are you doing?" And he was like, "I wanted to know if you had." I don't remember what he asked me for, but I'm just like, it was really weird. But that should have been scary, but it wasn't. It was just one of those things where I just woke up and was like, "Well, I'm gonna die. Oh well."
Well, no, it's
Nothing I can do about it.
Yeah, I remember living with my brother and sister-in-law, and that was the same thing. I was upstairs, and I heard like I was in the dead asleep,
Mhm.
and I heard some kind of loud. It sounded like a shotgun, and not like in the house, but like down a little, like on the outside of the house,
Mhm.
but close by. And I don't know what it was. Could have been somebody just a car backfiring, or somebody dropping something outside
Yeah.
early in the morning. But I was sitting there, and I was just like, I couldn't do anything. I was just sitting there. I was like, my heart started pounding, and I'm like, what's going on? And then like I thought they could be coming into the house. Like they could be killing them right now. Like what if he comes up? I'm done. Like I'm gonna die. Like
That's why you need a gun.
but that's the thing. But then I didn't do anything. Just
No,
laid
yeah,
there.
just
I
laid
just
there.
laid there.
Oh man,
and I was like,
this is
man,
gonna be bad.
yeah. It's like I'm just
but
gonna.
I'm so comfortable.
Yeah, it's like I wish I could wake up. I can't. I'm dead tired.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like I'm just
gonna go back to sleep.
I'm just gonna. And then I woke up and I
That's
was still
crazy.
alive.
I
So
think
I didn't
most
die.
of mine are just
Yeah.
dreams I've had, and usually I wake up and I'm freaked out at first,
Yeah.
but then I get over it. Like I can't
Well,
think
yeah.
of. I mean, there's times like definitely like after watching Paranormal Activity where like I'm afraid to move around like
I
my
was
house
gonna say
in the middle of the night.
anything that deals with the demonic
Mhm.
freaks me
It
out.
freaks me out.
That's
Yeah.
why Paranormal Activity to me, and it's like
That The Exorcist, like I won't
Yeah.
like I'll watch The Exorcist and I'll watch Paranormal
Yeah.
Activity, but usually I'd like to watch it with other people. Like I don't
Yes.
like being alone in my house watching them because they freak me out.
Oh,
Yeah.
the witch,
The Witch,
and
Yeah.
anything that's dealing
The
with the
witch was
occult,
kind of freaky.
yeah. And it's just
yeah.
like
Anything
that-
that deals with the occult, I'm just like.
But honestly, though, like the movie, like Midsummer, like that
Yeah.
freaks me out more than even the thought of like any kind of possession or anything. Like that's not like I'm not saying that I don't believe that it's possible or that it
Mhm.
happens anymore. It's just one of those things where it's I don't like I said, I don't necessarily not believe it.
Have
but
you
I
seen
don't-
her? Is it Heredity? I always mess it.
Hereditary?
Hereditary. Have
Yeah.
you seen
Sean
Hereditary?
has. I haven't
Yes.
yet.
Okay, Sean, that freaks me out.
That's freaky. Yes.
To me, that's
But
freaky.
Again, it's like I
Um,
don't believe any seance is going to summon some dead Egyptian king and he's going to come
No,
and kill people.
I don't think it's an Egyptian king, but I think
Or
the devil
Persian
can
or
take
whatever
the
it is.
form of an Egyptian king, whatever the cult wants, and that that
Whatever
demonic
force.
I would say the
yeah.
devil can
Yeah.
take whatever form he wants.
That's what freaks me
Yeah.
out. But
And-
Paranormal Activity, where like they have like the baby powder or whatever,
Yeah,
and
no,
then you
and
see,
then
and
you
I'm
see
just
the
like,
hooves,
I'm
and
just
it's like you
okay.
know it's not
I'm like,
human.
I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm
Like
done.
that's what creeps me out.
Yeah.
I'm just no, I don't like any of that
Nope.
crap. Nope, don't need it. Don't need it in my life. Don't want it. Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. Just okay.
Ouija boards. Nope.
Nope.
That's just like
Let's get
so
on to
funny.
something
It's really
happy.
funny though because it's kind of like the things that scare you don't at all scare me. Like I'm not worried at all about demons and that kind of stuff.
I mean,
I'm more worried about like looking down a dark hallway and there being some kind of a thing,
Something.
like a wolf or some kind of a. You know,
Now,
I
I
can't
have-
tell you how many
I-
nightmares I've had about like stepping outside and being attacked by like a pack of something,
yeah.
like wolves or
Bees?
any not bees. Bees,
Yellow
man,
jackets.
freaking yellow jackets get you every time. But like no, like I mean, just I don't know if it's even stems from the whole gremlin thing and that being like a creature
Monsters,
feature.
yeah.
But yeah, just like something not of anything that you've ever read. Like you read the Bible or you read all of these other things about like demons and stuff. It's like okay, yeah, I can get a grasp on what but like something that someone made up, like in the Mouth of Madness, man, that
Oh,
movie scares the
yes.
hell out of me.
Yeah.
Because of
I've
the
never
creatures,
seen this.
because of the creatures and crap that are in that. It's just like so
Such
twisted
great-
and
so
so weird
Yeah.
that it's like that's what scares me is the stuff that's not at all earthly.
The stuff like that doesn't scare me because, like, to me, like, I just know it's like, well, that's not real. Like, gremlins don't exist. This stuff don't exist. But like, paranormal stuff like demons and
see,
spirits,
that
that
doesn't
freaks
scare
me out because
Right,
I'm like,
yes,
like
that
for that, I
does.
feel like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, that's
That
real.
can
that,
be manifested.
and
I
Yeah.
don't want that.
creeps
It's
the
just
crap out of
creepy.
me.
Yeah.
Michael Myers doesn't because I mean that's just a man. And
No,
Yeah,
I just think
yeah.
of I just think of Ed Gein or something.
I
Yeah.
just,
some real
William
serial killer.
Shatner with face paint on.
It's like even where I live now, like tonight when I get home, it's gonna be late, and at my house it is pitch freaking black.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
no lights around my house or nothing. So when I get out of the car, like I'll have my phone flashlight
There
on
could
and stuff.
be something.
But I'm
that's-
telling you, when I walk up my steps to the front door, every time I'm constantly looking back over my shoulder with the light to see if it lights any eyes up or anything behind me. Because if there's deer in my yard, it'll light their eyes up.
Yeah.
and they'll be green.
Yeah.
And I'm like looking, and okay, those eyes are green, so they're cool. You know,
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah, we're
I'm
good.
Those
looking-
eyes are red.
Yeah,
Abort, abort,
run, run, run.
Get in the house.
Yeah,
Get
but
in the house.
until I get to the front door, I'm constantly looking around with my phone, like what is in the dark,
Yeah.
and it's not a demon that I'm worried about. It's like something, and even if it is a worldly thing, like I don't want no freaking honey badger to jump out and catch me off guard. But I mean, we had a
Yeah.
freaking possum ran out in front of me one night, and I mean, I'm telling you right now,
Well, and
that
I was
lit
gonna say,
me
and it
up.
doesn't matter
Like, it
what
scared
kind of
me to
beast
death.
it is. It's like the fact that it's the unknown. It's
It's
just
the
looking
unknown.
out
I don't
into
know
the
what it is.
darkness. And I agree. It's like
Say-
looking down a dark
Yeah.
hallway. I don't know what's down
Oh
there.
yeah. I
And
mean,
it's
I mean,
like, and I'm just
Yeah.
like, that freaks you out.
Neil will tell you
Yeah.
about time I went out taking pictures at the Abbey of Gethsemane one night, and a donkey in a field a mile away went, oh, and I shot at it. And like I don't think he wasn't with me, but I've told him the story. But I went out there. It was like 2 a.m.
Yeah.
and I was out there shooting pictures of the Milky Way, and this freaking donkey went "Huh," like way off in the distance, and I drew my gun and I fired in that direction, and I don't know what I hit. Like I could have hit some farmer's house for all I
Well,
know.
you probably killed some old man.
It scared me to the point where I thought this freaking
that's why we need gun control, Sean.
I don't know what it was. I don't know what it was, but you know, I just
No, I agree.
It,
I
it
will
caught
say,
me off guard.
We've been passing through the countryside before at night, coming
Oh, yeah.
home from, and I mean any kind of old country graveyard.
Mhm.
There's one.
Neil's just
No.
texted. I heard you had to run in with a donkey one time. Sean. I'm like, yeah, just told that story.
Yeah, but the thing is like I've seen like there was the one cemetery where I believe my grandparents on my dad's side are buried.
Yeah.
And they have like this valley, this little dip, and it's like it had all this like fog
Ooh.
in it.
Yeah.
And we didn't even get out. We just rode by it, but we stopped for a second because they were just kind of like, oh, it's a little creepy. And I was like, I want to go. Like I was dead serious. But I was little at the time. I was like
Yeah.
maybe 9 or 10. But I was just like, I want to go.
Move the
I
car,
wanna-
Dad. Move the
Yeah,
car.
yeah. Like let's leave.
Let's
and
go.
my mom's like, oh, Bobby, let's go. Let's get out of here.
That's probably for me like the scariest is being alone anywhere, and like even in my house, like I'm glad I have Luke there because like I feel like if somebody breaks in, like I know like I'm okay because I know he's gonna like sound the alarm and attack, and I'm like okay,
Yeah.
like but if like I was just there by myself, it would freak me out. Because like anytime I'm in the dark somewhere by myself, I'm kind of like, this is
great,
creepy.
because I don't have a dog. So y'all are freaking
That's your
me
fault.
out. Well, okay, I want to talk about something happy before we end the show here. So, email us.
Yeah.
I just want to get off that topic because it's
Where
gonna
can they
freak me out.
email us at?
You know what, Keith? I'm very glad.
Is
you
it
brought that up.
right there? Is that
Hold on,
it?
wait.
Is that it?
Are we coming to you?
Is that I don't know.
It's not there yet.
Go
You
to
gotta
him. Go to
Tickle
him.
it a little
rub it.
more. Tickle it a little
I'm
more.
trying to. Is that it?
Oh, it just popped in.
Oh,
It just
man.
Oh
tickled.
man, something just came
RM
up.
Podcast at redmoonproductions.com.
That's it.
Ooh,
That's like the Hollywood.com.
yeah.
Hollywood.com.
Nobody goes there anymore.
Does it even exist anymore?
It's got to. Somebody owns it.
Yeah.
No doubt it exists. I just don't know what it is.
Because it used to be to sell movie tickets.
Yeah.
And there's like, does anybody even use it to buy movie tickets?
No,
I mean,
there's no doubt. There's no way.
I'm about to go there
It
now.
can't be. Everybody email us what you find at Hollywood.com
.com.
by emailing us it right there. RMPodcast at redmoonproductions.com. Where, guys? Can y'all say it one more time?
RM Podcast at redmoonproductions.com.
Oh my gosh, that's right.
Did I get it right?
You got it right, Sean.
Nailed it.
You nailed it right
Nailed
on
it.
that first
Huh.
time.
Well, I can
Uh-oh.
confirm it exists, and it seems to be for movie news. Like they have tons of articles about different
Nobody
stuff in
goes
Hollywood,
there.
so
We only go to Screen
Huh.
Rant.
Yeah.
I know.
Nobody looks at
Variety,
that.
Interesting.
Hollywood Reporter.
Hmm.
It's like, nope, we don't go there.
They have
Yep.
celebrities, movies, and television. You can click
Cinema
on it and
Blend.
find all kinds
Yep.
of news. Benedict Cumberbatch agrees with Martin
Gumberbatch?
Scorsese. Gumberbatch.
And Coppola.
It says he agrees with, but it says he agrees with Martin Scorsese's criticism. Wow, what a traitor! What a traitor!
yeah,
he
nobody
doesn't-
liked Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
That's why.
That's why. He's mad
That's
about
why.
his own
He had
movie.
one of
'cause
the
he was
most
the
underrated
weakest.
Marvel movies.
Iron Man's Jon Favreau insists Scorsese and Coca-Cola entitled to criticize. Well, yeah, they're entitled to it, John.
Nobody's
yeah.
arguing that.
Gosh.
All right, we're not going to dive. We're done. We're done with this.
I want to
Yeah.
know what
episode.
Pepsi thinks.
Yeah.
That's what I want to know.
It's the new Coke.
The choice
okay?
of a new generation.
Coppola's the new Coke. Oh.
Wow.
Well, that timed perfect.
Wow, okay.
Until
We're
next
done.
time, I'm one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host.
Sean Sebastian.
And
Keith Cheatham.
see you next time. Oh, wrong button.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. For more reviews, previous podcast shows, and everything Red Moon, visit our website, redmoonproductions.com. You can also like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for Red Moon Productions, LLC. We'll see you at the movies.